all of them think that's a very playable surface. It's softer than what they have practiced on, but that happens. It's well within all of our testing standards. It is something that we think all our experts, as well as neutral field inspectors, have all said unanimously that it's a playable field.
How's the practice fields? Were the conditions okay that you could have a normal practice without any adjusting?
Yeah, we had a normal practice.
And
we didn't
practice there the rest of the week?
Oh, yeah. We're not going to change our whole schedule up. We'd have to go too early in the morning, mess everything up. So this is the best choice we got.
Are you satisfied with that choice?
We're here. We're practicing on it. I mean, everyone has their preferences and wish things were better, but we'll deal with the field how it is.
All right, back on the show here, Kyle Shanahan. As you can see, I think he's been trying to do a little dance. He's been trying to negotiate it. You don't want to sound like you're complaining about the field, although a field surface, as you prepare for the Super Bowl, a field surface that is unsatisfactory is a huge deal. And who knows that better than a guy who has actually played in the Super Bowl? Solomon Wilcots is here, former Cincinnati Bengal, former Minnesota Viking, and you have one more. You have one more team.
Pittsburgh Steelers,
of
yeah,
course.
don't forget.
Steelers. But you played in the Super Bowl. It was one of the great Super Bowls ever. The Bengals and Niners, a late touchdown pass from Joe Montana. I remember that.
I remember too.
Oh yeah, I remember. But I know sometimes it sounds like excuses. I remember, several teams talking about field surfaces over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, isn't it? When your practice field is not quite right and you know it, you can't really practice the way you need to practice.
Yeah. One thing you should never have to worry about when you're practicing or playing is having good footing, right? You should be able to play instinctual and be able to read and react. You need to be able to assert your speed, your quickness, your explosive abilities, and that's what's going to give you a good feel for game speed. And that's why you have to practice fast so that you can play fast. But if you're practicing on a surface that's uncertain, more precarious, not only could it lead to someone getting hurt, it just leads to you being more uncertain about your assignment, right? And being able to carry that out at a very high level.
Solomon Wilcots does a great job on Opening Drive, a host of Opening Drive on Sirius XM. And if I ask you about the surfaces, and there was an NFLPA survey, 92% of players want a grass surface. I'll bet one person who really wouldn't want a grass surface is your co-host, Torrey Big Game Holton, who did a lot of damage on artificial surfaces, particularly with the St. Louis Rams. But do you think does it make that much of a difference for a player, grass versus artificial turf?
Yeah, I just think it makes for a little bit more of uncertainty. The one thing you don't want, and you're right, Torrey, the greatest show on turf,
on
right?
Turf, not on grass, on turf.
So I think that speaks for itself. Speed kills for offensive players who have that certainty of footing. But really, more importantly, you don't want anything that's too stiff, and you don't want anything that's too forgiving when it comes to footing. But you do want something that gives just a little bit, because when you plant that foot in the ground, if it doesn't give a little bit and the knee buckles, you're going to topple over. Next thing you know, they're carting you off, and the day is over. And so when it comes to footing, we do prefer natural grass because it gives a little bit. There's a little bit more of a cushion. And you know what? No turf burns. Trust me, Mike, the turf burn, man, is something that we all remember well. And not only is it painful, it can be very debilitating if it's bad enough.
You talked about, I said, I remember the game between the Bengals and Niners. You said, I remember it too. Now, at the time, I believe that was Montana's maybe his third one. That was his third Super Bowl.
You're right.
Did you, as an opponent, listen, I'll give you respect and all that stuff, but did you think at that time, hey, this is an all-time great, or did you look at it as you were preparing for that game, hey, there's some plays to be made here, he's flawed, he's got some flaws we can take advantage of. What was your approach? Because I'm just trying to imagine if you're a defensive back for the San Francisco 49ers, we're pretty much anointing Mahomes already and putting him in that rare air. As an opponent, how do you look at those guys?
Players don't look at other players in awe kind of like the fan base does, right? We look at them and we see them for what they are because we have a body of work where we can go back and look at the film. So I would pull Joe Montana, all of his interceptions. And that is to let me know he's human.
Yeah,
but
he can
I'm
throw
also
one.
looking for tendencies that says, okay, when he throws it, it's usually when he's late in his progression and being pressured at the same time, right? Because Joe don't just make mistakes all on his own. They have to be forced mistakes, right? This is a guy that played in 4 Super Bowls, never threw an interception in any of those 4 Super Bowls. So he was hard to get a read on. And so I just kind of came in knowing who and what he was, which was a great quarterback. I was a kid watching him play at Notre Dame, watching him come from behind and beat people.
Yeah.
I was a kid watching him play in Super Bowls. Next thing you know, my second year in the league, I'm playing against him, right? And so by going back and looking at the good, the bad, some of the in-between, you had a real good feel for what he does. When we played him, guess what the score was at halftime, Mike? 3-3.
Woo.
So that let us know, the Russian bleeds, if you know what I'm saying.
Right, that's right.
He's human. He's human, and we can get this. Now, he did have a great second half against us. They end up winning that game by 4 points. We had an opportunity to intercept him. Lewis Billups, one hitting right in the chest, man, he let it go. And you know what happens when you have those moments? He is not going to give you a second chance.
Right, you're saying, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake
That's
again.
right. And Pat Mahomes, I believe, is very similar in that way. If you have a chance to get him, man, you better make it count.
And the thing about Mahomes, you talk about the interceptions with Montana, he never did in Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Mahomes, remember that stat about doesn't get sacked?
That's
I mean, that's got to be, that's really demoralizing. How many times have guys been close to him? Something. I mean, I think that's harder to defend in a sense that he's going to have time to, or he'll have time or make time.
That's right.
To make his throws.
That's right.
So if you're San Francisco, how would you approach him? I mean, it's a difficult assignment.
No, I think what you do, and they have a feel for it because Super Bowl 54, Nick Bosa had a sack, had a forced fumble. When he forced Mahomes to fumble, Mahomes recovered it himself. But you know what he did on the very next play? He threw an interception. And that's why at the end of the third quarter, the 49ers were leading in that game, 20-10.
20-10, 7 minutes to go.
That's right, 7 minutes to go, and then Mahomes
lead.
gets hot, man.
Yeah.
He leads them to 21 unanswered points. They win that game going away, 31-20. But to your question, how do you defend against him? You don't rush him to sack him. You rush to contain him, right? You rush to trap him deep in the pocket.
Yeah.
That's what the Buccaneers did when they beat him in the 2019 season, or 2020, excuse me. And that's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. Remember, he just kept drifting further and further back in the pocket.
Yeah, he was trying to make some impossible throws.
And by the time he would throw it, man, they'd have to travel 20 yards to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And so you made him play on a long field, and that's how they didn't rush him to sacking. They rushed to push the pocket, make him throw from deep in the well. Most quarterbacks don't want to do that. The vision is obstructed. They don't like things around their feet because they want to step into throws. So you have to be very careful not to rush upfield and get beyond the quarterback. Then he'll just climb the pocket, step up, and he'll leak out on you.
Now it sounds like, because most people are picking, even though the 49ers are favored. I haven't checked, even though we're in Vegas, I haven't checked the latest lines.
It's close, right?
I know it's moving. A lot of people here are putting some action on both teams, but it seems like most people feel like Kansas City's going to win because the logic is I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. But you're making a pretty good case for San Francisco. Who do you think has the advantage?
First of all,
overall,
I think because you have 15, you have the advantage because he is that good. He's not going to beat himself, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
You're not going to force him into mistakes. He's not going to pull the pin on his own hand grenade. You're going to have to take the game from Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
He is that hard to beat. We call him the Grim Reaper for a reason because even if you got him down, look at that. Yeah, see? And that's, you and I both know that number is not expectation. That number is just to get some action. Action. But I'm just surprised that the action hasn't, it's been, I see all these Kansas City fans around, but more Niners fans. Yeah.
I'm surprised that the amount of people saying, well, wait a minute. We bet against them, when he was going into Buffalo.
Yeah.
They won that game. We bet
Yeah.
against him. They were going into Baltimore. He won that game.
Yeah.
And now he's an underdog, and they seem to like it. Solomon, they seem to like it.
Yeah,
man. You don't believe,
yeah,
huh? Okay.
Man. That's because that's where they're at from a maturity standpoint, right?
Yes.
Because think about it, man. To move on from Tyreek Hill and still win a Super Bowl, man, that's saying a lot. To win a Super Bowl with a bunch of rookies on your defense, 3 starting rookies on that defense last year were rookies. The last team to do that, win a Super Bowl with at least 3 rookies as a starter on your defense, were the 81 San Francisco 49ers.
And think about those rookies, though.
Yeah, Ronnie Lott, Carlton Williamson, and who was the other one? Eric Wright.
Think about that.
Eric Wright. They were bad boys now. They were bad.
And see, this is why your show. This is why I listen to your show. It's just so much, so much knowledge.
Thank you.
Not just about the current game, but previously
That's
too.
right, man.
So I don't think a lot of people, maybe if you're not under 25, or if you're under 25, you're under 30, don't realize. So Ronnie Lott started off as a corner.
As an
all-pro.
In 81, that's right.
So he's been a Pro Bowler at corner.
Yep.
And he's been a Pro Bowler at safety.
That's right.
That's just
bad dude.
I mean, that's
bad
crazy.
Dude. And a bona fide leader, like one of the most fierce leaders you're ever going to be around. Ronnie walk around here today, man. You still go up a little bit intimidated. You still approach him carefully, you know what I'm saying? Because he might have a flashback or something.
He's got that look on his face, too.
That's right. Right.
I think that's friendly.
I know, right? Friendly. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Is he squinting because we're far off and the lights are bright like they are right now? Or is he squinting because there's a score to settle?
That's right.
He couldn't handle it on the field and must do it right now. I want to ask you a couple more questions and then let you go. What do you think about the trend here in coaching? We've talked a lot about Bill Belichick, who's 71 and out of the game, and Pete Carroll, who's 72 and out of the game.
Yeah.
But then you got, Mike McDonald, young coach, 36. Gerard Mayo, young coach, 37. Do you think we're going in that direction where, whether they have a cause or not, teams are looking at older coaches and thinking that, just assuming that they can't adapt and assuming that a young guy will bring something that older coach doesn't have?
Yeah, I think we're on a trend. These things kind of go in cycles, don't they? In terms of what ownership is looking for. Right now, they tend to be looking more for the younger guy. I do think the pendulum has swung a little bit more toward the defense, right? Where after D'Amico Ryan's doing what he did last year.
Great job.
Defensive coach. So I think they understand that the good pairing of a young head coach, maybe on the defensive side, but okay, now who we're going to get as a coordinator, because the pairing of the two seems to be a really good fit right now. I don't have any problem with that. Look, when you go with an older coach, you and I both know for these owners, it costs more, man. It does. There's a higher price point for a guy who's been a head coach previously, that comes in with an organizational structure, who doesn't want his hand held and told how he's going to operate in the draft. And so owners are like, no, I want to keep my hands on the control just a little bit. So let me get that younger guy who's willing to, share power, right?
So it's not only a financial cost, it's the cost of dealing with that personality who will actually give you pushback. And sometimes if I imagine you own a team, I own a team.
That's
okay?
right. That's
I own a team, and I want to be able to say, come in there, and at least you don't have to be overly deferential, but you got to at least acknowledge my presence as the owner of the team.
That's right. And look, as I read in one of the pieces, particularly in Atlanta, when they were talking about Belichick, and Coach Belichick's going to want to run his operation,
right?
Because he's been there, done that, and I think one would say he's kind of earned the right to do that. I think you could also argue that as a general manager, no, I want to give you some help in that area. But as one writer wrote, when the Falcons went the other way, that maybe the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Okay.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, all right. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
A veteran coach in this game, and Andy Reid, and a emerging veteran. Kyle Shanahan's been around for a little bit. He's no kid anymore.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 58. Check him out, Solomon Wilcots. Great show, worth your listen on Sirius XM, The Opening Drive. He does a great job. Thank you, Solomon.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.